343 actually did it. They buffed the movement in Halo Infinite.
Vegeta, what does the scouter say about his power level? It's over 9,000! What, 9,000? There's no way that can be right!
Was it intentional? We'll talk about that in a bit. But first, what a week this has been for Halo. My one-letter review for this update so far, it's a W. It's not perfect, but Halo Infinite is the most feature-complete, most fun it's ever been right now. And that feels pretty damn good. And whether or not it should have been here over a year ago, like, yeah, you're right. I get it. Still, it's cool to see people enjoying the game and giving it praise. Because regardless of the difficult journey Infinite has had, I think I speak for Halo fans when I say we just want to see this game do well. I've had a hell of a week, too, on Twitter. Of course, I noticed the movement buff right away. I got pretty excited about it on Twitter. I posted a few clips of examples of some of the slides you could pull off, shooting a few bots, and apparently I struck the hornet's nest or something. 2 million views later, I'm just getting berated by Titanfall fans and like anti-movement FPS enthusiasts. Haters. I got a lot of haters. Apparently people think I'm a kid on Adderall. Like, brother, I am 31. After my morning workout, I have one of these. Shout out to President's Choice. This is a Canadian medium roast coffee pod. I put this in the Keurig. I add oat milk, and we're good to go, baby. The worst offenders, though, the Titanfall fans, man. A lot of children yearning for Titanfall. That's got to be a meme, all right? So many children yearning. The children, they yearn Titanfall. I'm about to lose my mind. Like, look, man, this ain't my first rodeo with the Titanfall community, okay? I compared Halo and Titanfall a couple of years ago in a video. I get it, though. Titanfall's cool. Like, Respawn did you dirty, right? There should be a TF3. But y'all gotta get off your high horse. Titanfall and Halo are very different games. TF is like the Oprah Winfrey of movement shooters. It just hands out the movement dopamine to everyone. Like, you get a wall run, and you get a double jump, and you get to spray down your enemies in 3 bullets and shoot AI targets to pad your stats. Like, you're flying around like your Spider-Man is effortless. Not that any of that is bad. Like, don't get me wrong, there is plenty of expression there. I've seen the speedruns. But Halo is just a more strategic, team-based, nuanced, sophisticated FPS experience with movement shooter elements layered on top. It's deep, bro, and competitive, and it's been that way since it came out. Like, to your classic fans, we've been skill jumping, moving around at full speed while shooting laser accurate from the hip since 2001. But you gotta work for your movement advantages in Halo with skillful inputs just to do it at all, and also be good enough at the game to get away with using it, because oftentimes movement in Halo is even riskier than it is actually helpful for your gameplay. You can't just slide around the map like an egomaniac and not nail all your shots. Trust me, I know this better than anyone. Anyway, thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Now that I've triggered at least half of you, let's talk about Halo Infinite's movement. Today we're breaking down everything that's changed, plus tips on how to pull it all off. And who knows, man, if you stick around, maybe you'll come away thinking, damn, it's actually kind of cool. This footage here is from Milkway. He's basically the human equivalent of TAS in Halo. He strings together these extremely difficult movement sequences with like robot levels of precision just to showcase what's possible and bait reactions on Twitter, because Twitter eats this up. But before you freak out and tell me this is not Halo, you're correct. This isn't Halo. Not even pros are pulling off stuff like this in-game, and they never will. On top of being extremely difficult, it just doesn't make any strategic sense. But if you can pull off specific components of his run individually, like sliding from Nest here to C, that's an extremely useful and effective rotation in the right situation. You can add a 360 repulse to this and try to get into tower, right? But one, first, good luck hitting it. And then two, why risk exposing yourself to like 13 different sight lines for something that you probably won't even hit, right? The execution plus the risk reward doesn't make any sense. I mean, it looks sick though, so there's that. And that repulse technique is actually useful too. We'll talk about it another time. This slide though, off of Nest, is brand new to Halo Infinite. You could not do this, at least not like this, in any other iteration of the game. And it's brand new. So what changed, right? Because sliding has been in Infinite since the game came out. 343's objective was to bring sliding back to parity with how it was in Season 3. In Season 3, the curb slide technique, which we'll talk about from the ground up today, was smoother and more consistent, more reliable. 343 in Season 4 nerfed it, I think unintentionally, and made it more difficult to pull off and just clunkier. They also nerfed upslope sliding. So when you slide on an uphill or on an up lip or any sort of like groove along the floor, you get hitched in Season 4. You used to be able to slide over it cleanly in Season 3. So their objective was to fix that. There was also this weird consistency issue between the movement in training and online modes in the game. For some reason, movement mechanics and slide canceling in training was completely different than it was in the online modes. 343 have thankfully fixed that. So the slide cancel is back in training, and movement and mechanics feel exactly the same as they do in training versus online, as far as I can tell. So you can, if you want to practice and warm up in training, you can go ahead and go back and do that. You won't be playing like a different game. But as far as reverting other aspects of sliding, like the upslope slides, for example, 343 did a pretty good job of this, but it's not one-to-one. Like if you slide upslope now, you go farther than you did back in the start of Season 4, but not as far as you would in Season 3. Season 3 had more powerful upslope slides, just a little bit. It's not a huge deal because sliding upslope is still effective after this change, but it will affect things like jump maps, for example, that kind of rely on that upslope momentum. So Project Air Parkour, for example, still won't work, unfortunately, unless the map is changed, because you don't slide as far upslope. And then you've got ghost jumping, which is not a slide, but another, technique that was removed in Season 4, I think unintentionally. It's not back either. So you can't ghost jump still after this update, meaning this key door ghost jump still doesn't work, though I have videos showing other methods of hitting this jump that are still really effective, right? Ghost jumping is pretty niche, so I'm not as upset if that doesn't come back, but it is a classic part of Halo's skill jump identity, and it is important on some jump maps as well. So I would like to see it come back, but I'm just not as worried about that. But curb slides, though, this is where the fun begins. 343, y'all outdid yourselves, okay? They buffed curb sliding. It's better than it's ever been in Halo Infinite. Better than Season 3, easier and more consistent, and you can also do it from higher ledges than ever before. It goes kind of crazy now. Like this ledge, you would never even fathom curb sliding off of. Now it's an actual reliable option in gameplay, which changes how we approach map movement. In case you're wondering why this is happening, like why didn't they just revert it to Season 3? Why is it different from Season 3? Good question. Shout out to Brian, 343 Taxi. He's their gameplay lead at 343. This dude is the GOAT. Brian, your transparency has been awesome, man. Keep it up. Now, my knowledge is definitely lacking here, but I believe that Slipspace is the main engine that Halo Infinite runs on, and then Havoc would be the physics engine tied to this Slipspace engine in some way. And I guess Havoc changed. I'm not sure how it changed, but due to the change, they can't just simply revert back to like Season 3 movement, which is interesting. That also means, I guess they can't just simply revert back to like Season 2 snap sliding, right? Snap sliding was a huge component of Season 2 and something I miss in Halo Infinite. Combine snap sliding with this movement and the game would be nuts. It's interesting, though. I do love 343's decision to just wait and see what the community has to say before they, dial anything back or make any other big changes. I think Halo Infinite has gone through a lot of unpredictable changes, not just in movement, like just throughout the course of its life. Some good, some bad. And I think 343's ability to, pay attention and embrace the good stuff is part of what makes Halo Infinite a very unique, diverse experience that people want to come back to, right? So I think the sentiment is pretty positive right now, personally. The game feels smoother, more responsive than ever, and let me know if you agree. And I'll teach you some curb slides so you can find out for yourself. Curb sliding is easier than ever now, which means it's more important to know than ever too. I think anyone can learn how to curb slide. Doesn't matter what controller layout you have. Doesn't matter if you're on M and K. Stand on any ledge with some altitude. I would say just stand on this box is a good starting point. Sprint off it, hit crouch to slide right after you leave the box. That's it. Just stand on it, sprint off it. Right after you leave it, hit crouch, and you'll boost. You can jump after to keep that momentum. If you want to, you don't have to. You can just sprint off it, time crouch right after you leave the box to slide. Your crouch timing to slide is happening in the air, right after your feet leave the box, right before they make contact with the floor. Depending on your timing, you're going to get different results. What 343 has done is they basically increase the timing window where you'll get a boost, so it's more forgiving, but they've also removed the penalty associated with missing your timing. Normally, if you slide too early, so like right as I'm on top of the box, let's say, or like the instant I leave the box, if I slide too early, you would get a dead slide. I call it tripping. You can't really trip anymore, at least not with objects of this height. If I sprint slide too early, I just get like a normal slide now. So there's not really a penalty for missing now. You don't really, like you won't get the boost, but your movement is still progressing. You're still getting that momentum to some extent. So that's why the movement feels just like smoother and more responsive when curb sliding, because you don't necessarily need a boost all the time, or you don't need a big boost for it to still be useful, right? Like you can hit that early timing, still get a reasonable boost, and still use that to your advantage. If you want the best boost, you need to time slide as late as possible before touching the floor while still curb sliding, because if you slide too late, you're going to get a normal slide as well. Like once your feet hit the floor, you time slide, you get a normal slide. So you have to find that sweet spot where it's the latest possible timing that gives you a boost. And then there's things like edge lineups, which is a little bit fancier, which gives you the best possible launch. So they basically lowered the skill floor, and curb sliding at like a baseline is a lot more reliable and accessible now than ever before. We can slide off more objects with consistency, when in the past there would have been more strict requirements and timings associated with, you know, hitting those taller objects. For example, if you take the jump up ledges or bricks on Aquarius, those used to be very tricky to line up slides off of. Now you can just stand on it, sprint, time and release slide, you'll boost off it, meaning it's more reliable, more useful than ever. On streets, on C stairs, there's a tall ledge leading up to C stairs. You can just sprint right off it, time crouch, slide. That's an opening strat now. I expect to see pros use that as an opening strat. I'll show a whole collection of ledges that are now reliable that you can just straight up approach with a sprint and a time slide right after you leave it. The taller the ledge, the tighter the timing tends to be, like the more restrictive it'll get with the taller ledges. But even with this one, sprint, slide, you're still going to get a boost with that early slide timing. The timing is like right after I leave the ledge, I'm still getting that boost. And it's something you're going to have to, play with and practice, but it's way more reliable than ever. For those who practice, the skill ceiling is definitely still there. If you want the farthest and fastest possible boost on the tallest possible ledges, you still have to learn advanced techniques like the edge lineup. If you're looking for a more detailed explanation on how all this works, I recommend you check out my masterclass video. That goes in depth. That's all still relevant. Basically, your downward momentum and your distance from a wall is important in hitting slides off the tallest ledges. Is the gist of it. And thanks to the new buff, the tallest ledges are taller now than ever before. My rule of thumb for this is if you can reach it with a clamber, you can slide off it. The process to slide off these new tall ledges is to stand on the edge of it. The closer you can stand to the edge without falling off, the better. Sprint forward and then turn off with both sticks. I turn off on a diagonal at about 1 o'clock with the left stick, the movement, and then I turn off like just a full off with the right stick. And I time crouch slightly after leaving the ledge here. It's sort of like halfway down, I time crouch. You got to get a feel for it. This requires some finesse. It also commits your aimer forward the direction that you're lined up, right? So you're not ready to fire shots. There's a huge risk-reward aspect to this. And that's just the beauty of Halo. There are no free advantages in Halo. The greater the advantage, the greater the risk associated. You want to hit slides off taller ledges? Be prepared to give up your accuracy, and the execution requirements are more challenging too, right? You can trip trying to hit slides on this, but with some creativity and practice, you can definitely use this to your advantage. I think these taller slides have the ability to change the game. You can apply this all around different maps. I think Solitude is a great one. There's so many spots on Solitude where these tall slides completely change how somebody would approach the map. You just have to have really good timing and awareness and great accuracy. All of that has to follow up the crazy movement that you're going for, right? If you're going to slide quickly, you're sliding out into the open in a team game, you're going to get crossed up and killed immediately, right? There's a lot of risk associated. And of course, you got to learn how to shoot in between all of this too. You can't shoot and sprint at the same time. You can shoot out of sprint, but if you want to curb slide and shoot around it, you have to time your slides the instant after your BR burst ends, right? There has to be a layer of strategy behind and execution behind like how you're timing your shots and playing aggressively with curb slides. A great way to practice: jump into training, turn the player outlines on so you can see them through walls, and then practice sliding around and landing shots with perfect reticle placement and be damage efficient in between the slides as well. It's going to take some time. It'll probably hurt your gameplay before it helps it, considering how risky this stuff is, but man, is it satisfying when you get it down. And that is just one layer of Halo Infinite. Like I said, it's deep. There's a lot more we could touch on in even just the movement before we get to everything else that makes Halo Halo. And that's honestly why this game is so much fun. So if you are a Titanfall fan who made it this far, now's a pretty good time to play some Halo, I think. Let me know what you guys think of this new update, of the new movement, the slides. Are you hitting them more? Now, I can't wait to see the pros use this in tournament play, right? I think this will definitely shift the meta. The best way to use this tech is with your teammates. Or just come by my stream. We are hitting all the slides live on Twitch right now, the moment this video goes up. For more Halo content on all things Halo, right here. This is the way.